Hi, I'm Mikkel Weber, founder and auteur of House of Peregrine. Expat, immigrant, pioneer, none of these were a fit, but Peregrine describes what we are all about perfectly. Those that craft their life story with intention. I've spent the last 6 years in awe of the life-changing connections and stories I have experienced while living abroad, and believe it is time for this adventure to be recognized, celebrated, and elevated to the life stage that it is. Through these interviews, I hope to connect those living internationally more deeply to both the place they are living and with themselves and those around them. We cover everything from international finances and meaning-making to global parenting and relationships to make your time abroad more intentional, edifying, and full of beauty. Find us at houseofperegrine.com, where you can find more ways to connect with the ethos of Peregrine. I hope you enjoy today's guest. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the House of Peregrine podcast. Today, we're bringing you a conversation focused on the often complex world of international divorce. Magali van Maanen is joining us to give us insight into her life as a divorce lawyer and mediator for international families for nearly 2 decades. She offers us invaluable guidance for anyone navigating separation or divorce abroad. I was surprised to learn that as an international, it's crucial to consult a lawyer before making the final decision to divorce, and why it is a great idea to make agreements in writing before you even leave your own country. Magali also addresses the realities after following a partner to a new country and offers practical advice on how these spouses can prepare themselves financially and emotionally for potential separation. For more, listen to the full episode, which we've linked below. Of course, they're also often afraid of losing their children, I'm sure, but that's not a reality. Unless there's abuse, it really isn't. I just want to set the record straight. Like, there's many cases you can lose your kids, but just not being with them as often is not one of them under Dutch law.
Oh, exactly. And that is indeed a misunderstanding that I hear a lot. I think that also has to do with the fact that child protection services are often pulled into a case. You know, if there was a fight in the house and the police are called, then they call CPS. And often people get scared because of what they say. But it's completely unnecessary.
Okay. So in general, they want your kids to be with you if that's healthy for them. Yeah. And then what other fears financially do people generally have?
Mostly it has to do with having enough income, having enough assets to be able to not only live comfortably, but of course, it's very difficult to find suitable housing these days. To find a house, number one, find something, but also something that is actually affordable. And especially if we're talking about parents with a different level of income. And where there used to be quite a comfortable house where the children had their own bedrooms, and suddenly one of the spouses, usually the woman, has to live elsewhere, and considering her income has to move to a 2-bedroom apartment. That's difficult.
Yep.
And it's especially because we're often looking at a more or less 50-50 division of care, maybe 60-40 or a little bit more, a little bit less. You do need to have a suitable place and preferably close to each other so that the children can move comfortably from one parent to the other and can go to school quite easily from both parents. That's a major concern.
Yeah. It's a major concern. Is there anything people can do to better their situation? Ask for more, assuming you don't have a prenuptial agreement that considers this ahead of time. Is there anything you can advise people to do to increase their chances of being able to support themselves better?
Yeah, well, if it also depends on the age of the children, of course, but at least do your best to make a step into the working world. And even if it's only voluntary work, but at least try to find something for yourself that you can at least in time find a job. It could also be following a course, education, because these days spousal support, if you're eligible, will only last for 5 years. So after that 5 years, you're going to have to find work for yourself anyway. So you might as well start doing that now.
Right. Okay. So just start standing on your own feet financially as soon as you can. And that doesn't hurt your chances, because there's a lot of times where if you don't have income in other countries, that you get more spousal support than if you did before. That's not the case in the Netherlands. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, yes and no. When we look at spousal support, there's two main subjects. The first is need. What do you need? Which budget do you need every month to sustain yourself? And the other is capacity to pay. So the person who has to pay spousal support, how much income they have, which is available to pay spousal support. So that need, the budget that you need, is determined by wealth during the marriage. What were you accustomed to spending during the marriage? And whatever you earn yourself is subtracted. And the other spouse is asked to fill in the gap. And what we usually see is that capacity to pay by no means reaches the amount of the gap of the need. So usually someone will have the opportunity to earn an own income without losing spousal support.
Okay. And I'm going to change direction. So thank you for all this advice, by the way. I feel like this is going to help a lot of people. If you're getting a divorce in the Netherlands, listen to this. This is like a lot of great advice. I want to ask, if you were to move abroad with all your knowledge, would you come on someone else's visa as a divorce lawyer? Do you think that's a wise move, even in the strongest of marriages?
The lawyer's answer is always, it depends.
Of course. We're gonna put a big old disclaimer on this episode.
This depends.
Is not legal advice.
Exactly. No. So for me, to be honest, it's okay to go initially on the spouse's visa because you need to be able to build up a life over there in the new country. You need to at least, have the feeling that you're settled for the first couple of years. But my advice would be at least either at the beginning or at some point to get information on how to get your own visa, because as you said yourself, usually marriages tend to start to crack after the first couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years. I know that here in the Netherlands, there are opportunities to get a visa to be able to stay with your children, your minor children, but I don't know if that's the case in other countries. And of course, it would make life increasingly difficult if the visa is the reason you have to leave the country and that you can't be with your children.
Yep. Or you can't work. There's some visas where you can't work. Yeah. I find that incredibly insane that's the case. And so, but what I want to ask is there anything we can do? Why do you think as a divorce lawyer, what do you see in international couples that really gets in there and starts dividing people? If you had to name a few things.
Usually what I see in practice, people tend to have different ideas on what the relocation was going to bring and what it has actually brought. Some people see it as an adventure and, it's going to be wonderful, but it's hard. You have to make an effort to fit into either the expat society or the Dutch, in this case, Dutch society. And that's really difficult. And if it was just one spouse who is the expat who is working, then you often see that person builds a life for themselves because he or she has social contacts through work, has something to do every day because of work. In free time, does some sports, generally lives more or less the same life as that they had in their home country, except it's in a new country. And the trailing spouse is left with making sure the family get into society, and they are generally challenged with all the aspects of living in a new country. And mostly then, if that leads to an unhappy spouse and it's brought up, oh no, but everything is fantastic over here and I never want to leave. So there's no listening to the arguments of the other person. So the trailing spouse has to understand that the working spouse has a new life, but the working spouse has to understand that for the trailing spouse, it's really difficult and that they need help.
Yeah. And they're working on your combined life while you're working on your own advancement. And that's a massive, I think it's undersold how incredibly difficult that can be and how that really can break up a marriage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how rapidly you're both having completely different lives and you're growing in different ways. And that you can either grow together or you can grow apart, but it is a massive moment. I would say almost as big as having children is moving to a country with someone, because it's such a time of rapid growth and you have to be mindful about that.
Yes, and of course you're more dependent on each other rather than on family, friends, community. You're really you have to be a close knit unit for it to be able to be a success.
It's so true. And so do you think that's the primary reason we see such a higher incidence of divorce among international couples? Is that main?
Yes, especially because when you're living abroad, I think certain personal characteristics will rise or they will come up more than if you're in your normal habitat
Hmm.
with your normal friends and family where everything is running smoothly. And when you're over here, some things might come up that you never knew about.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true. You have different opportunities, and also parts of your personality do become more exaggerated or uncovered. It's a time of rapid personal growth. And so also you could have good things that come out that you didn't know. And then that can lead you to grow more than your partner, perhaps.
True. And I think also immersing yourself in a new culture can be very interesting and can also maybe bring some new things to your joint life.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. Okay. I want to ask you this other question. So when we spoke before in the pre-interview, you told me, and you mentioned it briefly at the beginning of our interview, but you told me when someone comes in that you ask this question. So I want you to say it again slowly. It is, what do you want your life to look like in? Just pretend like I'm coming to you. You're asking that first question so people can ask it to themselves if they're thinking that they may want to end their marriage. Ask me that question slowly like you would a client.
Assuming that this divorce happens, what would you then want your life to look like in 3 years' time? Where will you be living? How will the division of care for the children be? Will you be working? Where would you be living? So not only a country, but also place, house, just a general picture of what your life would look like.
And the answer to that question is a really good jumping off point for how you proceed with that next step, I think. What will this bring you? What will this take from you? What are you moving towards? Are you moving away from? What are your values? That's what you're also getting to, right?
Exactly.
And that will not be the same for any two people.
Absolutely not. It's also helpful for someone to embrace the process of the divorce, not only see it as a terrible period in their life, but also as a threshold to a whole new life. And I think that's very important as well, because a divorce is terrible.
I mean, I feel like you just changed everyone's life right there. I feel like that was incredible wisdom that you just dropped right there. I have goosebumps. Yes. So I would agree. And I've seen it over and over again. Relationships, I think Esther Perel said it best. You'll have many marriages in your life over the course of your life if you do choose marriage. If you are rare, it will be to the same person.
Yes.
And so that I love this idea. It's a very romantic idea, but also it really brings this necessity to have someone in your corner so that you can make really sound decisions based on your values and what you want, and not just fear or staying in things too long, or maybe being impulsive and ending something before you've actually strategized or had a really sound strategy for yourself. You're doing holy work, Magali. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're doing really hard work in a holy way is another way of putting it.
Yeah, well, that's the goal. I mean, if someone says to me, I want my life to look like X in 3 years' time, and we break it all down and we say, okay, well, then what budget do you need to be able to do that? And it turns out the money's not there to be able to afford that lifestyle. Well, then we have to rethink the options and come up with a plan B. And I think that's a better way of looking at it than people coming in and saying, okay, well, divide 50-50, good luck. And I hope I never have to see you again in my office, because that's genuinely how I feel. People are very welcome to come back, but I hope for them they don't have to. But I feel I'm not helping people if I'm only, let's say, doing everything the legal way.
Yep. Yeah. And it's an incredibly excruciating time in life. So I see it as a portal, like a death portal you're going through. And like you said, something's on the other side of that. And so I really love having someone who is in your corner, who has that perspective. It's not necessarily about hurting the other person, although it can be, but it's not necessarily, that's not your perspective. It's about making your life what you want it to be. And it's so beautiful. I'm so grateful to Magali for coming on and giving us an idea about the immense complexities and emotional toll of divorcing abroad. It is absolutely vital to understand the financial, legal, and logistical implications of an international divorce before making any final decisions. For her full comprehensive advice and a deeper dive into these issues, listen to the full episode, which we have linked below, and check out our guide, which is on houseofperegrine.com, for couples that are considering a move abroad or any other transition in their relationship. We made it from those who have been there and don't want anyone else to have to go through the same. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope this conversation empowers you to make informed decisions for your future. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed our show. For the latest insights on living internationally, join us at houseofperegrine.com to find out how you can connect with our community. Let's craft our life story with intention together.